Welcome to Designing Purpose, your guide to finding and pursuing the career you were meant for, with me, life and career coach Brooke Cretz. Want to know the scariest part about leaving your job? The unknowing of what's next. But what if it were possible to leave the job you hate and pursue something that feeds your soul while still meeting your financial goals? On Designing Purpose, I will guide you step by step to leave jobs that no longer serve you and connect to the career and life you were meant for. Join in for powerful stories, examples, and guidance to go from feeling stuck in the unknowing to confidently transitioning to your next career. The Designing Purpose show starts now. So let's imagine that you've been confined in a sort of prison for the last 10 years. Prison life hasn't been terrible, so to speak, and actually provides you with some nice structure where you have a good sense of how your days are going to go, and you feel like you're able to be productive most of the time. In the evenings, you typically have some leisure and exercise time and go to bed where you feel safe and secure. Every day you have 3 meals provided for you, as well as other necessities that keep you at a healthy baseline. This confinement certainly provides you with some key cornerstones of life: safety, security, the meeting of basic needs, some light socialization, and the certainty of a routine in your place. In fact, in many ways, it's actually very comfortable, and you grow accustomed to your world being defined by the walls and grounds of this confinement. You may not experience other things outside, but you have what it seems you need to get by. Now imagine one day you receive your parole. You're free. You have served your time and can venture out into the wide world before you. You receive a quick hit of excitement at the possibilities before your brain begins swimming with so many different options, unknowns, and fears about encountering things that are probably entirely new to you. Today is the first day of the rest of your life, someone tells you. What are you going to do with it? You're able to find a comfortable home with a safe and secure bed and stock your refrigerator with food to provide you 3 square meals a day. You join a gym and a community group to continue receiving the same socialization and activity you were accustomed to. But now, how in the heck are you going to spend your days? You've spent 10 years being told exactly what to do, how your days will look, and what you can accomplish to prove yourself as productive. It wasn't always the most exciting, interesting, or nourishing work, but it gave you a sense of certainty to how you used your time. You decided it's best to keep following that schedule. After all, it served you pretty well up until this point, right? So you start to search for a job from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, in an office. But what exactly to do? What would be a good fit for your skills and allow you to earn what you need? Well, you're pretty good with numbers and details and enjoy methodically going through different equations and ways of making sense of what numbers are telling you. Well, I guess then I should be an accountant, you think. That would use my skill set while allowing me to feel productive, purposeful, and financially sustained. So you take a job in a local firm and show up to your desk Monday to Friday from 9 to 5 to work through your accounts. In the evenings, you socialize with some people in your community club, get a workout in, and eat dinner. Later on, you crawl into your safe and comfortable bed and go to sleep to start the pattern over the next day. So wait a minute. Let's go back and compare these 2 scenarios. In one, you have a safe home, good meals, a predictable schedule, a social circle, and physical activity. And in the other, you have a safe home, good meals, a predictable schedule, a social circle, and physical activity. Oh, but this time you got to choose where you worked. And it really does seem in both scenarios that you are very comfortable, that there is a lot of safety, security, and certainty that keeps your core needs met. And maybe even more importantly, you're living a life that other people understand, that they look at and think, yeah, that makes sense. That's a good way for that person to live and be a healthy, productive, hardworking member of society. But there's an inkling within you that something is off. This low-level anxiety and feeling that you may not be exactly in the right place or experiencing all there is for your fullest life. That's crazy, your brain says. Look at everything you're doing, everything you're accomplishing, your pay, the promotions, the benefits, what your coworkers think of you. You're living the ideal life. But this feeling that something is off continues to grow. Soon you are frustrated, resentful, apathetic, dreadful, numbing yourself with food and mindless binge watching, and imagining yourself escaping to life in another city where you were greeted with an interesting, exciting, and dynamic way of being. And if we remember back to episode 1, what are all of these signs of? Oh yeah, purpose disconnection. The only difference between the second scenario and the confined imprisonment scenario is that you chose this life, this routine, this way of doing things, and yet you ended up right back in the same feelings of purpose disconnection, a lack of fulfillment, and that undeniable feeling of being stuck. The funny thing is, when I start working with people to discover their purpose and pursue the career or business venture aligned with that purpose, almost invariably, people will begin by copy pasting the life they have right now with just the content of their work changed. And remember, this is what they are choosing. Most times at the beginning of the process, they still want to work a traditional Western work week, Monday to Friday from 9 to 5, work from a traditional modality, so at an office, maybe at home, or largely attached to a laptop or a computer, and attract a new role, or in the case of a business venture, new clients, the way they see everyone else doing it, having all the right keywords in your resume, the interview tactics, or social media and paid ad strategies canned and ready to go. Sure, you might feel more energized and aligned by actually doing different work that feels more like you. But in my experience, this is very fleeting. And 6 months to a year down the line, if not sooner, you will probably feel just like you did when you realized you were trapped and disconnected from your purpose in the first place. And that's because you're not really living in your purpose, the truest and most authentic expression of yourself, where you feel ultimate freedom. Instead, you are living in what is safe. And the reason why safety is so attractive is because it's rooted in old ways of thinking, working, and being. Safety involves what we know, what satisfies our ego, what satisfies other people, and what keeps us feeling able to trust ourselves. And the thing about safety is that it keeps us feeling good and grounded only to a certain extent. But as long as we stay in this place, purpose, connection, and fulfillment will never, ever be truly possible. It will only be possible once we open ourselves up to freedom, true freedom, which involves what fills us up, what makes us feel good, whole, and alive, and how we create the greatest impact on ourselves and those around us. So when we go back to the safe way of doing things, working set hours, working in traditional modalities, attracting new roles or clients through traditional methods, what we actually need is to explore the freedom of doing things your way, working according to your natural and unique energy rhythms, working in ways that feel right and whole for you, regardless if other people aren't doing it or don't understand it. Authentically being yourself as a means to attract your people, not trying to fit yourself into a box or prove yourself to others to hire or to work with you. Okay, so how do we actually free ourselves and practice these things when we may still have little to no idea what our purpose really is? We think we need to get super clear on the what we are doing, the content, the meat, that neat and polished package of offerings that will sound amazing in a job interview or a pitch deck. But Actually, when we try to establish the what first, we will almost always stay with what we know, what is safe, and what has ultimately kept us stuck in the first place. So if not the what do we explore first? How do we really connect with that what? We start with these three things instead: the why, the who, and the how. Throughout this episode, we will explore how to define your why, who, and how by first outlining the safe or known ways of doing things before we flip to examine the freest way for you to define these. And as always, I want you to be able to honestly respond to one question by the end of the episode. Can I let go of safety and embrace freedom, knowing that this is the only way to experience authentic and whole purpose connection? Let's start with why. So many of us are familiar with Simon Sinek's brilliant business model framework, which encourages us to start by asking why we are doing business in the first place. I wholeheartedly believe the same is paramount when connecting to ourselves and our purposes. What are our core whys? What are our reasons for stepping into roles, business ventures, or ways of life? What do we ultimately want for ourselves and others? What is at the core of what we are doing, even if we don't have those clear contours or visibility on what that what even is? Let's start by looking at this from a safe or old way of doing things. If we ask ourselves the question, why am I working? The usual suspects for this old way of thinking might center around, I work because I need to earn in order to survive and provide for my family. I want to show others how successful, productive, or hardworking I can be. I want to achieve certain levels of status, title, or rank within my organization. I want to make my parents, family, or social circle proud or satisfied with what I have done. And because I don't know what a better use of my time and skills would be. And even when we do our best to align our skills, values, and beliefs with the work that we do, we're often keeping it rather surface level without really truly understanding who we are and what we ultimately want to achieve through our work. Common examples of these values and motivations might include, I work because I'm helping people, because I'm making a difference in the world, because I am supporting a healthier planet, because I believe in equality for all, etc. And while these are admirable and valid, they don't quite yet tell us about you and what your unique driving forces that will underpin your purposeful career. To discover this, let's look at how we can define your core whys your way. Many of you are probably familiar with the 5 whys exercise, which is a highly useful and targeted reflective tool and helps us to get to the very basis of our motivations and why we do what we do. This is the exercise I want to use for us here, but instead of asking, why am I working? I want to shift us to look at this through 2 sequential lenses. The first focused on you, and the second focused on others. And the reason I do this is because many of our core purposes serve 2 main goals. One, they support us to have ultimate freedom, fulfillment, wholeness, well-being, and to live and experience all that feels authentic for us. And 2, through this, we are typically able to support and impact other people to achieve certain goals, well-being, or other aims. So let's break this down. If we imagine our first prompt as, what I want for myself is to have a more healthy and balanced life. We can begin breaking this down even further by prompting each of these statements with because. So this might look like to have a more healthy, balanced life because I will experience less stress because I'll have more time to do what fills me up because I deserve to do what makes me the most whole. This helps us to really hone in on our core why and our reason for living. the things that are truly important to us and will motivate us when properly nurtured. Now let's take it one step further with the prompt, what I want for other people is to see all that they have to offer and that it's all possible for them to make it happen, because then they will feel empowered to actually do what they may have held themselves back from doing. Because when you are in the right place for you, we all benefit from the gifts you have to offer. Do you see how these core whys feel much more exciting, intuitive, refreshing, and most of all, like you, than when we just think of working through the lens of earning income or vaguely defined values around helping people or impacting the planet? When these light you up and make you giddy, rather than just leaving you feeling numb, regurgitating what you were told in corporate exercises should be your why, you'll know that these will be your guiding lights for your next professional step. So now that you have your core whys in hand, we can move on to the who it is that you want to work with and or support specifically. So if we're looking at this from the safe or old ways of working, this typically takes on two flavors, depending if you are looking for a job or starting a business. If you're looking for a job, it's typically whoever will take me. And if we're starting a business, it's typically everybody. The truth is that in the old and safe ways of working, we are typically not thinking much about who we are working with, because we assume if the interests, i.e., the content of the job you're applying for, and their expressed mission are similar, you will probably get along with them pretty well. In the old ways, we're typically made to feel like we need to adapt to what already exists in company culture and just get with the program, since that's what we signed up for. And when we are still thinking about those safe or old whys of earning income or status or landing a role that your family approves of, we're usually just so grateful to have a job at all. Something similar happens when we start businesses. Although you will probably have a niche you want to serve and a certain understanding about what that demographic needs, a lot of times we just want to take anyone who walks through the door and wants to work with us without actually assessing if this is going to be a good fit, of who resonates with you best and how effective of a relationship you'll have. Again, you are trying to fit yourself to them and perhaps sacrificing your best ways of working or engaging just to earn their business. This is something we're going to talk a lot more about in a future episode, so stay tuned. The free or your way of doing things is not to feel like you have to prove yourself or fit yourself into any mold, because that is just how people are and you have to adapt to them. Instead, it's all about connecting with your people, the people who accept and are open to working with you because that's who you are. Now, this does not mean working with people who 100% think and operate as you do. We know from countless studies and experiences that this is actually not a productive way to collaborate and work. It's working with people who, even if they don't always agree or see things the way you do, they're open and willing to at least understand your point of view while still respecting and accepting all that you are. Okay, so how do I find my people? Start by completing the following statement. I feel most connected and aligned with people who... Now, this one, I really want you to dig deep and be as comprehensive as possible. A lot of times we just think of people who have shared interests or perhaps come from similar backgrounds as us, but you probably have worked with a lot of people like this with perhaps mixed results. Instead, think about the values of the people you connect with the most, even when interests, backgrounds, or ways of thinking or seeing things might be different. Because remember, this is really the diversity that we're looking for here. You might be someone who loves going deep and opening up meaningful conversations. So important values for you are curiosity, openness, and honesty. You might feel deeply for people who suffer from inequality. So the values you could have are empathy, understanding, and kindness. You might enjoy being silly and looking at the lighter side of things. And you guys probably guessed that's totally me. So your values could be humor, levity, and joy. This is the first crucial understanding towards finding the people who you work and engage with best. not those who think or feel or see things exactly the same way you do, but those who also share similar values, and you're all typically open and willing to include and honor people for who they are. The next statement to complete when finding your purpose is, I think that those who can benefit the most from what I have to offer are. This is more or less where the niche or need state comes into play. Let's imagine that you've noticed you have a keen sense of understanding how people work best and how they can support their team members to shine. You don't quite know exactly what you would do as a role or a business venture, but you do think it's something important that you offer. Therefore, if we're thinking of coworkers or clients to target, logic would dictate that you should look for teams needing help or corporations unsure how to manage team dynamics. But as we learned from completing the first statement, that's not all we're looking for here. And if we think back about who we resonate with and imagine that the people we vibe with and appreciate the most are those who are open and honest, then your people would not only be teams struggling with working cohesively and feeling in sync, it would be those in this position who also are open and honest to move through that process, even if they don't always agree with you or have opinions on how things should be done that you can build upon. When thinking about who you want to work and engage with, regardless of if you are assuming a salaried role or starting a business, the important thing to know is that your people are at the intersection of these two groups. You will only ever feel free, whole, and fulfilled through your purpose when you are engaging both with people who benefit from what you have to offer and align with some of your core values, even if their ways of thinking and being are completely different. And although I understand that we cannot always be with our people 100% of the time, when we are in consistent spaces without our people, it doesn't matter the content of the work we do or how closely we feel attached to our why. We will never be able to fully live within our purpose. Your who or your people are the second guiding light towards understanding what you're meant for. The final piece to define, which will help us to get clearer on the truest expression of your purpose, is how you want to work. This comes down to the general structure of your week, how you want to engage with people, and in general, how you both work and feel at your best while working with your people and pursuing your core why. But first, let's start by looking at the safe or old ways for establishing your how. So if you've been working in what could be classified as a desk job, meaning you've been in an office or working from home, typically attached to a computer, 9.9 times out of 10, your default is going to be to return to that. And I'm not saying that there's anything bad or wrong with it, and that there are certainly many people who do enjoy and thrive in that environment. But it can also be a way of limiting yourself because you're not open to different ways of engaging or exploring when you might work best or be at your most joyous, energetic, and aligned self. The same can be said for working hours. As I said earlier, almost everyone I work with at first is very set at looking at the week as we would traditionally in the West, meaning that you work Monday to Friday from 9 to 5. Now, the really crazy ones will say that they only want to work 4 days a week and have some flexible hours. So, whoa, cool your jets there, sweetheart. You don't have to just stack your days and weeks with never-ending tasks and engagements just because that's how you've worked or see other people working. And that leads me to how to define your work in free or in your way. One of the very first things I ask clients when we start imagining their next steps is what their energy rhythms and patterns are like, how those are affected, and when they feel at their most whole, all else equal. The reason I do this is because I want to start getting a sense of how you actually work best, not what you forced yourself into doing or have gotten by doing over time, but didn't really feel like you. Begin to examine how you feel throughout the day. Do you wake up excited and motivated to start the day? Do you feel anxious to push yourself into get stuff done mode to check everything off? Or maybe you feel an all-out dread opening your computer or working early in the morning. How do you continue to feel as the day goes on? Do you find you become more energized and motivated once you hit a certain time frame? Or do your anxiety, dread, or even just fatigue continue to grow? How might this change if you try different tasks at different times of the day, or divide what you would normally do in a day into 2 or even 3 if you're able to? Once you have a better sense of your natural energy rhythms and when you would want to time your optimal work, we can examine your schedule from a more strategic and comprehensive perspective. We are highly conditioned to schedule ourselves day to day and week to week, with many things repeating on those increments. The problem is that even if we do shift to work that aligns with our core why and involves our people, but we're still just stacking our days and weeks for the heck of it without really assessing if it's how we work best, we will end up on a different, perhaps shinier hamster wheel, but a hamster wheel nonetheless. True freedom means having the ability to get off the hamster wheel. This isn't to say you can't continue doing similar things and having similar rhythms day to day and week to week as you had in other roles, if that's what feels good and right for you. But remember that the free way of doing things allows you to examine how you use your time your way. Do you want to keep a set Monday to Friday schedule, or examine what it looks like to work 2 days a week with a couple of major events each month? If the thought of this feels really unrealistic or downright scary, remember that if you're staying true to who you are, aligning with your core why, and engaging with your people, this will probably be much easier than you might think. And this leads us to the final piece of the how, imagining how you enjoy engaging with your people the most. Okay, so you might better understand your energy rhythms and how you want to structure your schedule beyond the week to week. But how do you want to show up and offer what you have to your people? Do you prefer more solo and deep creative work time? Do you love being physically present and side by side with your people? Where would you meet them? In an open space, in a classroom, outside? Do you like being with them one-on-one, in a small group, or in a packed room? Even though this might feel squishy and uncertain when we can't quite imagine what it is we're actually doing with them, it can feel incredibly freeing to think about exactly how we want to connect with and engage with our people in ways that feel exciting, energizing, and meaningful for us. We do not have to feel constrained to stay on the hamster wheel, working and engaging with people the ways we see everyone else doing it. Understanding how we want to engage with our people in ways that align with our why is the most important foundation to understand what it is you are meant to do. And that what is, just kidding. But we're going to talk all about that in the next episode. So you'll just have to stay tuned for next time. I promise you it will be good. So let's go back to our initial question of the episodes. Can I let go of safety and embrace freedom, knowing that this is the only way to experience authentic and whole purpose connection? Can I align with my true why, seek out my people, and structure how I work the best, knowing that this is all foundational and absolutely necessary for you to discover the what it is that you are uniquely meant to do? I know you'll be absolutely blown away by what's possible when you do. In the coming episodes, we will talk so much more about this, including the best ways to fuse your strengths, passions, values, and motivations for a cohesive next step, facilitating confidence and readiness for the resistance that might come up when we lean into our purpose, and developing experimentation plans as you make your way towards your next professional move. As always, I'm so excited to be with you on this journey. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. You have been listening to Designing Purpose, your guide to finding and pursuing the career you were meant for. If you are curious to navigate the unknowns keeping you stuck in your job and confidently discover and pursue the career you were meant for, tune in every second and fourth Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on transformationtalkradio.com, where I give straightforward and practical guidance to facilitate your next career move. For more information, visit www.thepurposefulpractice.com.